In Corpus Christi, the dead don't just stay in the ground. Sometimes they leave a signal. To the thousands of people in Corpus Christi every day, Old Bayview Cemetery looks like a crumbling relic of the 1840s. And Seaside Memorial is gorgeous. It looks like a peaceful place of rest. But when the sun goes down and the salt air starts to get a little cool, these places are telling a different story. So today, we're not going to talk just about the legends. We brought gear so we can hear from them. From the restless spirits at the Mexican-American war veterans at Bayview to unexplained spikes in our meters at Seaside, we're opening up our ghost hunter kit to show you that we caught something on the digital recorder we can't explain. And by the end of this episode, you're going to hear it for yourself. I'm Sue. I'm the oldest of this crew, and welcome to the LoneStar and Volunteer State Mystery Hour. We're three siblings looking into mysteries and oddities across Texas and Tennessee. I'm about making the rules and trying to keep these two on track. Amy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm the middle child. We're this week we're going to dive deep into Texas history, focusing on a place most locals drive past every day and don't even realize it's there.
Jeff, how about you?
I'm Jeff. I'm Jeff. I'm the youngest brother, checking in from Tennessee. I'm just excited to be here. I think we're going to find some interesting results. I loved the videos that you caught, and I'm excited to share those with everybody.
So, Amy, why don't you tell us a little bit about Bayview and Seaside?
Well, first, just looking into mysteries that are local to our area. Old Bayview was one of the ones that originally popped up. There's several stories out there on ghosts and spirits in that cemetery. So Sue and I went to the local library and we pulled up all kinds of history on Old Bayview Cemetery, and so that's where we started from. It is a cemetery that's been there for years and years. It's tucked off in a corner that you drive by it on the interstate and don't even notice it. There's After digging through all the newspapers in the library and all the historic information, um, one of the things that I saw was so many people have wanted to revitalize this cemetery, but when I look back at the pictures from 40 years ago to now, they pretty much look the same. So after getting some history and the stories, there was two main stories of ghosts in that cemetery. Even our local news channel has gone out there and tried to capture a ghost spirit at the cemetery a few years ago. So we decided we would go out and just see what we could find, and we went out with the spirit box, and we walked around different areas in the cemetery. And the cemetery is not real big, but definitely the EVP monitor was lit up red, which we can show you later what that means. We But when we left the cemetery, just walking to the gate, just right as we got to the gate, the whole EVP went to green. So the red, of course, means that there's something is around us, and there are no electrical poles or anything that are around in that cemetery. So there, as far as we could see, there was nothing making that interference while we were there. So
So, Amy, tell me a little bit about Bayview. I've been there a few times, but that's the one that's by the ship channel, where the main harbor for Corpus Christi is. You can kind of see it from there. And is
yes.
it? It's really old cemetery, right? Like, kind of like, can you describe some of the?
Well,
buildings and stuff.
the are you talking about the cemetery, the monuments for? So,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, there's several. A lot of them. There's soldiers in there. They had an area that was just for the black soldiers. They had. I think there was. I don't know if he was the mayor. There was the one of the first mayors, I believe, of Corpus is buried there. Um, there's there was
Weren't there Confederate soldiers there as well?
yes, there were, yes, and there were some that were unmarked. From age. I think they had just worn off. There was some cemetery stones that were broken in half. It's not a very well kept cemetery, and going back to all these people getting money to have it fixed up, to me, comparing it from 40 years ago to now, it pretty much looks the same.
Are they still putting new people in it? I mean, it's
No,
nearly 200 years old.
yeah, there's, I think there was one that I would have to go back and look now, but I think there was one maybe in the 60s, in the 1960s.
So when you ran the spirit box, you had it flipping through channels. What did you hear?
Well, doing the radio itself, you know, and because I'm not an expert at this, I think I did it wrong to begin with. I want to admit to that. So I do want to try it out again. But I was doing like the scan of, because I was thinking that if you scanned it, then it would pick up something. So we did hear a voice on there that said, because I was repeating over and over, can you say hello? And I got a hello back. Can you say hello? Doesn't 666 mean hell?
Is it stuck on? Is it stuck on?
It's stopped on there.
Oh, it's stuck on there. Okay, we can leave now.
That's all right.
I
Maybe just because I hit the scan.
Can we say hello?
Can you say hello? Let us know you're here. Say hello.
Okay, I heard a hello, but I don't know if that was a radio station.
Hello. So that was interesting.
Well,
Yeah, that
it's
was actually
definitely.
remarkable. It was pretty clear. And I'm very skeptical of this kind of thing. But to me, that made me giggle. I was like, that's exciting. You got something to talk to you.
Well, so when Sue and I did it, that because we did it twice, right? We did it twice. So, and we had done that actually before it got dark, or before the sun had gone down, and then, but I will tell you, I did run the EVP all over me, to make sure I wasn't taking anything home with me, but just to make sure.
So what? Tell us about Seaside. I know there's the stark difference between the two.
So, I wanted to try out So, well, I wanted first of all, I'm gonna skip back to going to the park. So after going to the cemetery and having the EVP machine go, be read, I thought, well, let me go somewhere where it's neutral, where I don't know that there's anybody been buried there. There's no telephone poles. There's no radio interference. So walked around a park that was just blank. So it did stay green the whole time. Just for my satisfaction that it wasn't. Oh, it just turns red wherever you go. And so then the next step was to move on to the cemetery called Seaside Memorial, where if you're from Corpus, you would know that Selena is buried there. Just for information. So it's a very extremely large cemetery. Um, so we decided to walk over. There's you could see that contrast between like where people have been buried more recently and the older part of the cemetery. So we went to the older part of the cemetery, and that's where we started at. And we were just walking around in the EVP machine. I didn't have the spirit box, the radio part on at that time because again I was trying to avoid any interference at that time. I just was trying out the machine to see is it going to respond to anything. Now Sue did have her cell phone and she was recording as we went along. But so we were over in the old part, and I had the machine out, and she was standing at one gravesite, and I was kind of standing off to the side of her, and and you could see it was going up and down. You could see, it would go up to red sometimes. Sometimes it would stay like in the middle, and we had talked about, of course, going over. I had never been to Selima's cemetery plot there, and it's all fenced off and everything, but you can still walk up to it. So after we were over there, Sue mentioned, well, let's go up and see Selena's. Well, about that, just as she said that, the machine went to red, and I looked down in the tombstone. The tombstone I was standing next to was a lady named Selima. And so that was just really, I don't know if that was a coincidence, but I mean, then it went straight to red. And so I think that was when Sue put the ball. Is that when you put the ball down?
I put the glow ball down, and for those who aren't familiar with this, it's a ball. It's a ball about the size of
Looks like a cat.
like a cat toy, and it will light up if it is moved. So I set it down on the ground, and there was no wind, there was no nothing. And Amy started talking to Selima again, and it lit up. And we do have that on video as well that we'll share with you. Okay, we're at Seaside Memorial, and we're testing out our little counter here. Go by Selena and see if it goes off there. Well, there are those. Oh, well, hello. As soon as I mentioned Selena, it turned yellow. Oh, okay, we're getting.
Well, because you're right next to Selma.
Oh, Selma was saying
it went
Selena.
To red. It went to red.
Selma, are you here?
You said Selena, but Selma was right here.
Yeah, and it went to red.
Very active.
Did you bring the balls?
I don't know if I turned it on, though.
Ooh, look at that.
Well.
Well, we brought a ball. We're going to see if Selma might talk to us.
Yeah, there's some activity. I didn't bring the radio, though. I left the radio in the car because I didn't want to have any interference with this. But obviously, we're going right to red.
We're in front of Selma.
Take a picture. Can you take a picture of Selma's?
I got Selma on video.
Oh, okay. But it's just weird you said Selena and then we were standing right next to Selma.
Selma, you see that little ball in the grass? Can you touch it? Can you make it light up? All you've got to do is touch it. We can tell you're here. No.
And there's no electrical impulses anywhere that could be interfering, so.
No, not at all. And it's still lighting up like a Christmas tree. Okay, Selma, we're going to move on. Oh, crap.
She was married to Floyd. Or George.
Selma, is that you lighting that up?
You were married to George?
So now this part of the cemetery, is this pretty far from the road? Is it, I mean, I think the layout of that cemetery, it's between the shoreline road and the actual bay. So it's got a nice view of Corpus Christi Bay. Where Salima or whoever this dead person was is where was that? Was it sort of in the middle or close to the water?
So if you were standing on Oceanside, for everybody, that's right on where the ocean is, of course. If you were standing looking straight ahead, it would be to your right. So there actually is another part of the cemetery in the back that we have not gone back to, but so there's the chapel, I guess you would say, that's in the center of the cemetery. So if you were standing, it would be to your right, far, far, far right.
It's
I just
away
wondered if it was close
from
to the
all the
road.
traffic. It's away from power lines. There's nothing around except this old area where there are graves. And they are not as old as Bayview, but they were pretty old, and you could tell that their gravestones were pretty weathered. And the Seaside Memorial is huge. It's beautiful, it's well manicured. There's a stark difference between the two. Bayview doesn't look like it's been taken care of in many years, even though people have tried. Seaside Memorial, you pull in, and it's well manicured. There are flowers on grave sites everywhere, except when you go around further into the cemetery area where we were in this older section. And while it was still well manicured, there weren't any flowers. There wasn't anything on the graves. So there was a difference even within the cemetery.
Now, so after that happened, we did decide we were going to go to Selena's, go to to her tombstone area that's like I said, it's fenced and everything. But there were so many cars, so we decided there was so off on the other side of the road where she's buried, there is, it said veterans, so we thought we would walk through like a veterans area. And there were some, maybe there was more, we just didn't go the whole way back, but there was a canopy in the back there, like like when they're getting ready to bury somebody, but the ground was not dug up, so there wasn't like a freshly grave or anything. But anyways, there was a little sidewalk. We walked back there, and as we were walking on this little tiny sidewalk, I know the EVP had was getting red. We kind of crossed over, and we were walking in front of these one tombstones, and Sue said something, and I turned around, and I had the machine kind of behind me, holding it behind me as we were walking, and it was red. So we turned around, and it was red there. And then when we turned to walk back to the sidewalk, and as soon as we took a few steps on the sidewalk, then it went back to green. So obviously, and there was nothing there. There's no power lines. There was nothing that, you know, could interfere to make it, you know, as far as I could see, there was nothing there that would make it turn red. So, but we never did make it to Selena's. There was too many people. There was too many people. So we're going to try that again one time and maybe go to the other part of the cemetery that was farther back. There's like a little, like a street on the side, and then there's more to the cemetery back there. So we may try that another day and take the radio this time and try that.
So what do you
Yeah, I've
think,
been really
Jeff? Does it
excited.
make you a believer?
No, but I am spooked enough that I want to find out more. Like, it is spooky. Okay, so in both cemeteries, your little and the meter that you're talking about is turning red. It's called it detects electromagnetic fields, right? That's the whole point of it. It's supposed to like
Mm-hmm.
help you find a electric line or something if you're looking for one on the wall,
Right.
Right.
something like that. So you're walking around in a park and nothing.
Yeah.
But then if you go into either of the cemeteries, they light up like it lights up like a Christmas tree
Yeah.
in certain places. But as soon as you leave the cemetery, it's like that. I'm off. We're good.
Yeah.
And when you leave the cemetery is when you're actually walking under power lines like that. So you would think that if anything, it would show up there.
Right. Exactly.
And this is on the Gulf Coast. You got to remember, like there are not buried power lines here. This is not something that they can do
And I thought of
because
that
it
when we were
floods.
at, yeah, when we were at Seaside. I thought, well, why is it? Because it was just tiny. When I say a sidewalk, you're thinking is like a sidewalk like it's out in front of your street. No, this was like a sidewalk where you could just barely get your 2 feet on. It was very tiny. So, and I did think, is there any power lines? But there was nothing there. I mean, nothing to indicate there was anything there.
Well, and yeah, and just as a general rule, they don't put uh, power supply cables underground in that part of Texas just because of the way it's right next to the ocean. You can't do that. So, which is why the power goes out anytime there's a stiff breeze in Corpus Christi. but but so it's not like they're about buried, power lines or something like that. This is some kind of weird ambient electromagnetic field. I mean, it could just be as simple as, the Earth's magnetic field getting in a tangle right there or something. You don't, it's hard for us to know. We don't see magnetic fields really, but it's definitely interesting that they light up in the graveyards, but not like in a similar, non-graveyard area.
Well, going back to that day that we left the cemetery, it was at night, and just so everybody gets a picture of this cemetery is not in a great location. So it's in a very desolate area, I guess. And when I say desolate, there's a lot of um, you have the interstate right there, and then you have some apartments, and then you have a humongous homeless population right there. And this is a bigger crime area. So we were a little bit scared. I was like, I'm walking around like checking behind me all the time, make sure somebody wasn't going to get us in the cemetery because it was not very well lit. There's no security there. It is off like to the side, so people drive by, they don't even see it. It's there, but I don't think it would catch your eye. Um,
That's the older cemetery, the
yeah,
That's
Bayview
the
one.
Bayview.
Yeah, Old Bayview. So the night that we were there, of course, when we, so I'm taking the EVP thing on me, right, to make sure I don't have spirits attached to me, right. So we get in the car, and my feet turn red. Not literally my feet, but the machine turns red. So I'm just trying not to panic, right? And so we went to Sue wanted to stop at the store, and so when I was in her, so I'm thinking it's coming from her car, right? Because it's at my feet. That doesn't travel up my body, just at my feet. I pointed it at her feet. Her feet are. It doesn't do that too. So then when we got to the store and I got out and I swiped myself again, it was gone. So I'm thinking it was the car, but then when we went in the store, came back out, I swiped myself again and I was not red again. So how can I do it one time and not do it the other time? If I'm saying it was the car making, it turn red on my feet, then why would it not do it the whole time? When I got out and come back in, then it's gone.
Your ghost went to visit HEB.
Yeah, we need to hitch a ride to HEB, get a votive candle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I took them to HEB. I don't know. So,
So what do you think, Jeff?
It's fascinating. It really is. And I've played with I've got to get here, and I've used that little meter, and like it'll like pick up stuff that my cell phone's transmitting if it's right on top of it. And it'll pick up, if there is current under a load, like I've got something plugged into an outlet and it's turned on, you can kind of vaguely follow the wires in the wall. Um, but it's not super great for that. But you'll pick that stuff up. But outside, not a peep. Now I did go to. There's this tiny little pocket cemetery in Alcoa, and it is. It's like the size of a small suburban backyard. It's not big. They're all over the place out there. Like they just got these little tiny things that you know, they plant bodies in. And this is next to you know, a duck pond basically. It's and there's a greenway where people go walking. And so it's just off to the side there. And there's always been this grave that I love to visit when I have a break from work, and it just says unknown. And it said it was moved there from some other location, and but unknown. And so since I'm not from here and none of my people are from here, that's the grave I visit because I'm also unknown. Like I feel like we got something in common there. So I think of it as it's like the unknown soldier, but it's like the unknown hillbilly or unknown dirtbag. But so I took the EVP or whatever meter out there and kind of waited around. But it was snowing and cold. I did not last long, and I didn't pick up anything at all. And then I got cold and ran back to my car.
Well, maybe
It
he
was
was just
lunchtime.
cold and didn't want to come out.
I always thought it was a woman. I don't know why.
Hmm. Well, maybe
It's
she didn't want to come
unknown.
out.
did you talk to her?
A little bit. I mean, I usually have a chat whenever I come by. It's usually if I'm stopping there, it's because I have a few minutes and I want to be outside and have a cigarette or something. And because I never litter, when I finish the cigarette, I'll tear off just the last bit of burning tobacco and put that like right there next to her stone so she'll have a little smoke. And I take the butt with me and throw it away. So I don't know. I don't know why I do that, but it's just something I've
Let's
done
talk.
for years now.
An offering.
The Native
Yeah, kind
Americans
of.
do that a lot for their dead as well. They always offer them tobacco.
Okay, maybe I heard that somewhere. I don't know. It's just something that just always felt like a nice thing to do for unknown there. I just, it's like I'm sure no one visits that one. I might as well do it.
Well, going back to Old Bayview, so when we had gone to the library, when we were going through all the older, of course, that was Callers Times, Corpus Christi, Texas. So just to mention that the two stories that were out there was the one, um, the the fainting woman, and then of course I guess, and nobody knows who that is, and the lady in white. So, but those were the only two. Now, actually, I did not do research on Seaside, so that might be the next step before I go back out there, to see if anybody has ever reported anything there. that was just kind of a test run when we were out there. So
And we got a glow ball to light up.
yeah,
All right.
but it's been cold here too, so I've not been adventuring out.
Well, any final thoughts on this before we wrap it up?
Well, I am impressed by the sounds that you guys did pick up on those two little adventures there. It's spooky and you know, I'm not I love it.
Well, the coincidence at Seaside when Sue said, "Well, let's go see Selena," and then all of a sudden it turned red, and the one I'm standing next to is Selima, and I'm like, did she think we were calling her? I mean, that was something else. That was something
Certainly
else.
does leave a question in your mind. Well, for
Yeah.
our viewers, make sure you click on and listen to the longer version of the glow ball incident at Seaside and the hello at Bayside. Thanks for listening.